You're watching the Final Fantasy Entertainment and Podcast Network Final Fan TV. And today, we're just going to celebrate the 35th anniversary because Square Enix is doing that, and so will we. Vinny, we're talking a possibly just very exciting year ahead, a very exciting fiscal year. And I say that because, well, Square Enix, did their fiscal year end report, and on that, their plans was to focus on a major franchise. We put the two and two together. It's Final Fantasy. So let's talk about what that could mean, when we could see these things, and what they could even be. All right, Vinny, so let's talk about it. I want to talk about the most immediate thing that's going to be happening for Final Fantasy. It's got to be the Final Fantasy VII First Soldier Season 3, right? I mean, that feels like the most immediate thing. And it could set the stage for everything else that we're going to be diving into. So, Season 2 of Final Fantasy VII First Soldier ends on June 1st. We know that. There's only 17 more days left, so we know it ends on June 1st. And why that makes me a little excited right now, Vinny, is because we're falling around that Summer Game Fest, Square Enix presents or State of Play, something that I would call the E3 time, but rest in peace. Hopefully not too long. Maybe you'll come back from the grave, E3. But it's around that time of the year, man. It's that time of the year. It's time for big, exciting news drops, big, exciting things. And yeah, if Season 2 ends on June 1st, we can expect Season 3 to be, that to be accompanied by a Season 3 trailer. So, Vinny, yes. What do you think, man? Do you think we're going to get the typical First Soldier briefing, right? Like the season briefing thing where they go live, they talk about it, they sit around, they play a little bit of the season so that way you can get a visual demonstration of it. Do you think that's going to happen after such a big event? Like, so are we expecting maybe that Square Enix goes with a Final Fantasy event altogether and we can see a ton of stuff? I mean, they have a lot on their on the back burner, a lot to show us, especially this year. They've already said that they want to show us stuff. So do we see all of that this year? Or this month, I mean, is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Or do we just get like, hey, this is a Season 3 rundown of First Soldier? Standalone.
With them having so much stuff on the docket, and just going by like what they've done in the past, it seems like they tend to not mash too many things together. So I think they're gonna focus on First Soldier, and they're gonna show gameplay of Season 3, expectations, the theme of the season, and just like focus on that, because I think what they're going to do is probably do like mini-sodes as the year goes on for like First Soldier is the next thing up. So they're going to do their time slot for First Soldier, and then after First Soldier they'll have another one for whatever comes next, which I think we know what comes next. But
yeah, to kind of like just spread it out throughout the year, just that way the celebration kind of just goes on.
Yeah, because if this is the 35th anniversary year, they can make this the year of Final Fantasy. They said they wanted to focus on their main title, and their main title, which we assume is Final Fantasy. They can make the whole year about Final Fantasy by making every single cast about Final Fantasy for the rest of the year.
It's very possible. What do you guys think in chat? What do you guys think? Do you think we're going to get this big event, whether it be Summer Game Fest itself? Like maybe they're just saving, like obviously, like maybe the 16 reveal trailer, or not the reveal trailer, but the 16 new trailer at Summer Game Fest Live, which is on June 9th, I believe. And then, maybe a State of Play for 16 and like kind of like just separate events. Or do you think Square Enix could do a Final Fantasy Uncovered event like they did with 15 and just kind of here's everything Final Fantasy coming at you? I mean, both strategies would be pretty good. I think a lot of eyes are going to be on Summer Game Fest, so it kind of makes me think or like a State of Play. Obviously, those things are huge events, but Summer Game Fest seems to be like, it just feels like it feels right for 16 in my opinion. But obviously the reveal of 16 was at a State of Play. So either way, we're talking about First Soldier here, and as Vinny said, they could spread it throughout the year. They could do it all in one event. Let's talk about what they're spreading out. You know what I mean? What's on the spread? What's on the buffet line for us to eat? Let's talk about that. We knew that we talked about Season 3, First Soldier. I want to kind of talk about this. Let's see, or we'll look at chat real quick. Easter egg in 16. 16th of June. So Peter, you're absolutely right. That Easter egg that was brought up in one of those commercials, where it was like June 16th, and everybody kind of assumes that's when we're going to see the next info drop. I actually kind of came to the conclusion that I think that was the original release date of Final Fantasy 16. Now, we kind of talked about that in detail on the last episode, so if you want a bunch of Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Remake, predictions, please go back and check out the previous episode. But yes, June 16th is actually where I thought I came to the conclusion that was going to be the release date. And it was already that commercial. These things are in the works, and there's deals and everything that's made before, conversations that are made, and then the delay happened, and I think that commercial just slipped out anyway, and that made me kind of go like, okay, 6-month delay from June 16th, let's go all the way to December, and then now the announcement was supposed to be at the Game Awards, let's bring it all the way to the Summer Game Fest, or the June period, the summertime period, for the trailer. And maybe that's where we go with it. We'll see. So good point, Peter. I have always had that in the back of my mind for sure. June 16th from that commercial. So let's see, Major 16 drop for sure. Okay. Yes, love it, guys. Yes, chat. Keep it coming, man. Keep it coming. Be part of the conversation. I love it. So, Vinny, let's go on to our. Before we move on to the next topic, I kind of want to ask you, what do you think Season 3 is like? If you just had to give me a theme.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you've been talking about for a while, but what do you think?
Right.
Where do you think we're going?
So we initially from Season 1 we thought like maybe they're gonna go in some type of chronological order, and Season 1 was the First Soldier and everything like that. But then Season 2 went with Bahamut. So
yeah,
there's obviously no chronology with it. You know what we're hoping for? We're hoping for like a Genova themed, all these dark purples and stuff, and this like organic mess type thing.
Which actually, thinking of it right now, Vinny, if I have to I just kind of jump in real quick. Thinking of it, man, it does kind of make a little bit of sense, because we do know from the previous broadcast that the Shinra building was supposed to be coming as a new map. That's pretty much all we knew. The Shinra building is coming. What is inside of the Shinra building, Vinny?
Genova.
So maybe it's there's a possibility. It's an exciting prospect to think about.
Yeah, I mean, they might know that, and they might be saving a Genova theme for when they need to, because most games go through this. Most live service games go through this revitalizing phase where they kind of need to draw a fan base back and everything. So they might save a Genova theme for like their revitalization. Something that they know will get people to just sign in and play.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're gonna use that for Season 3, but really with them not having a chronology, like anything is on the table. I mean, we could spitball anything.
Right. Well, we don't know, like they definitely, like you said, like, it didn't seem like a major story beat with Season 2. That could be something that we were hoping to see, though, right? With Season 3 could be like, here's another major story beat, But yeah, as you said, it could just be a a random theme. You know, Dragoon and Bahamut and all that other stuff was the theme of season 2. So, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, really, we can speculate that maybe they're gonna try and do like maybe an Ever Crisis, so like maybe a Crisis Core, or I mean, it might be a Turks themed season where we get, you know, I mean, I think so. If we had a Turks themed season, I think it would be cool if maybe the Battle Pass had some remixes of the soundtracks to sound more jazzy than, you know, they're what they have going on.
Yeah.
And or it could be I mean, I really don't know. I hope it's Genova. I mean, we could have a Sephiroth themed, because I feel like you know, it's First Soldier, so we need to have, you know, Sephiroth in there eventually, you know.
Yeah, I think what I'm most looking forward to is, I mean, we know that there's the new map coming up. That's exciting in itself. We know that the season ends on June 1st, so we can assume that there's going to be a news drop or a big event for First Soldier at the end of this month. So just keep an eye out for that. All of these questions will be answered very shortly. So yeah, I mean, as for First Soldier, what do you guys think in chat? What are your hopes for in First Soldier? Are you still playing it? Is season 3 going to make you come back to it if you haven't been playing it? Are you excited for season 3 type thing? And what do you want to see? So let's move on to the next thing here. So, Vinny, Stranger of Paradise just came out not too long ago. Final Fan TV gave it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was just a fantastic game. I loved it. I had a lot of fun with it. But hey, it's not over yet because there's DLC. It's planned DLC on the way. And I'm excited. I got the season pass. I'm ready to go with it. We know from an interview by Famitsu that we know a little bit. We know a bunch of stuff from Nomura himself. Let me bring that up for you guys here. Let's go to... Oh, snap. Where's it at? I want to bring that up. It's actually... It was in Japanese, so I had to have the website itself translated, or the Google translated for me. But basically, it says... 3 additional missions are planned to be delivered to Season Pass purchasers in the future. Will these be delivered in sequence? Nomura says, that's right. Not 3 will be delivered at once, but 1 will be added will be added one by one. Please look forward to some missions, such as fighting the Warrior of Light. After the ending... Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Okay. First of all, spoilers! Big spoilers. I'm sorry, I need to throw that out there real quick. Sorry about that. Big spoilers ahead, okay, guys? So if you don't want to be spoiled on Stranger of Paradise, just come back in a minute or two. All right, so we're going to be just talking about this for a little bit, all right? Big spoilers. At the end of Stranger of Paradise, I'll try not to, like, go into detail of the ending or anything. I'm just reading the interview. So basically, fighting the Warrior of Light. All right, that's one of the things that Nomura said to look forward to. So the interview person goes, a different future, draw a different ending? And Nomura says, because a different future is one of the names of the DLC. And Nomura says, how about that? You know what I mean? Like, so he said, I don't think anyone can predict the boss of this mission. So, interesting. I think it's safe to assume that a trailer for the first... and now, I think we're kind of done with the spoilers there. I just wanted to, like, do that. That's pretty interesting, pretty exciting to be looking forward to, of fighting one of the Warriors of Light, or if all 4 Warriors of Light are going to be, you know, boss fight. That's pretty crazy. Nomura also said in that interview, to, like, he was also saying something about, like, you know, it's up to the fans to interpret this as part of the Final Fantasy 1's world, or as an alternate world or timeline or whatever, you know, whatever you want to interpret this as. But it does seem like, obviously, in the name, a different future. It seems like this is you know, that's where we're heading to. It's going to change the course of Final Fantasy 1's story. So And if you played the game, you'll understand what that could mean. I do recommend that if you haven't played this game, please play this game. It's amazing. I love it. You'll have so much fun. So I think it's safe to assume, Vinny, that the trailer for the first DLC is coming very, very soon. That's just I think it's going to be all 3 DLC will be released within the upcoming fiscal year. I think we're going to get all 3 DLC, and to spread that out, we'll go summertime, fall, and winter. And we are in the summertime now, so or getting close to summertime. So let's just assume that the first trailer for the first DLC, which is called Trials of the Dragon King, will drop soon, alongside other Final Fantasy 35th Anniversary news. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be. This is why I say a big event could be the thing. Of course, that means Bahamut will be the main focus of the DLC, because in the original Final Fantasy 1, Bahamut is a side quest that allows you to unlock your upgraded job class. And I feel like I'm talking to the professor right now. Like, I'm a student talking to the professor of Final Fantasy 1, like, informing you of what that could mean, Vinny. You know what I mean? But this is for you guys listening, in case you're not too familiar with the Final Fantasy 1 original. So in that quest line, Bahamut tells the players to travel to the Citadel of Trials. Well, what do you know, Vinny? That's in the name. The Trials of the Dragon King, just like that. So Citadel of Trials could be a new location for this DLC. So what they need to get from there is a symbol of their bravery, which is called the rat tail. The Citadel is located in the center of the topmost portion of the map. It's on one of the dragon wings, like the island that looks like a dragon wing. And if you go to Stranger of Paradise, like that whole section of the map is kind of, you're never really going there. So now we'll be able to take that DLC and go north and go to the Citadel of Trials. And yeah, that you'll get the rat tail from there. Now the whole Citadel of Trials is a very maze-like area where you go through a bunch of teleports and you keep going through them and make sure you're going the right way and all this other stuff. So it could be very maze-like. And in there are new enemies that Stranger of Paradise could introduce, such as Medusas. The Rakshasas. Am I saying that right? Rakshasas?
Rakshasa.
Okay.
Rakshasa,
and maybe some king mummies, all right? And some king mummies. These are new. These would be new creatures for Stranger of Paradise. Very interesting. The Medusas could turn you to stone, and they could be very annoying. There wasn't a lot of, for Stranger of Paradise being like this, Final Fantasy 1 type thing. Final Fantasy 1, I had to contend with being turned to stone so much. I didn't really get that too much in Stranger of Paradise. so they could really introduce that element of having to deal with the petrification type stuff. Where let me see what else I got in my notes real quick. And the creatures guarding the rat tail with dragon kings, or dragon zombies, sorry. Dragon zombies, we did face one in Stranger of Paradise, but if we have to fight multiple of them, that could be a pretty crazy challenge. Of course, Stranger of Paradise, is Stranger of Paradise. It is not a remake of the first Final Fantasy, so let's not expect it to go that way. I mean, maybe Jack and his crew are not worthy in the eyes of the Dragon King, maybe you could end up fighting Bahamut himself. That'd be pretty crazy to end up fighting Bahamut. So if that's the final boss, that'd be more interesting than the dragon zombies. So I think I agree. I feel like that might be the route they go with. So they're also, as we talked about a little bit before, they're building up to the inevitable face-off against the Warriors of Light. So what I would like to see is I'd like to see some teases, like in the first DLC, the second DLC, and then finally the third DLC. It all comes to a head. So I'd like to see that. Like some, a little cameo of the Warriors of Light, or a little hint at them, or something like that, and build up. Maybe at the end, show us another epilogue of them, more of that confrontation. Yeah. So Vinny, what do you think of the first the first DLC for Stranger of Paradise. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited, and I think your prediction goes along with like basically the theme of, like the dark crystals, and that they're not, they're not who they are, and I could definitely see Bahamut being like, you are not worthy, and then Jack cuts him off, says, "Fuck you." And,
Fuck you.
I don't give a fuck who you are. I think that was my favorite moment in the game.
That is,
when
yeah.
the Lich was like about to, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so, Jack became one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Just actually, probably in that moment, I was like, I love this character so much. This is great.
Yeah, we were playing together too. It was like so late at night, and we're like, oh, man, it's like 3 a.m. All right, let's just give this boss like 1 or 2 tries, and then that.
Oh man. So yes, I'm excited about that. And fighting off against Bahamut would be a crazy battle. Now, also talked about before release was some multiplayer focused DLC was in the pre-release trailer. So we know it's coming. Hopefully, it comes along with the Trials of the Dragon King. Like, we get multiplayer, we get new weapons, we get new outfits, we get new story mission. I would love to see all of these things just come together in this one package for the first DLC for this thing. We also, in addition to that, we do know that the official Twitter account said, to expect visual updates as well. That's coming on the way. So I'm really hoping that comes out alongside the DLC. So when I jump back in to Stranger of Paradise, I hope it looks, and it's looking fantastic. It's running better than ever. I hope that's the case. So it might not be. I feel like these sort of things are going to take a while. So let's go ahead and talk about. And then the second DLC. I think my prediction for whenever this trailer is going to drop, I think we see the trailer for the Dragon King. We get an idea of what we're going to do. In true Square Enix fashion, I believe we'll see the encounter with Bahamut, and we'll know for sure that we're fighting Bahamut. And then, what's up?
So I think, because they already said there's going to be no PvP, right? Did they explicitly say?
They didn't say. They did not say it, but I don't know if I'd expect it.
Because Trials of the Dragon King would be cool if it's like a PvP arena where you're, 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s.
Yeah.
And you're basically doing PvP, fighting for Bahamut, like to be his champion or something.
Yes.
You're fighting other warriors, and you need to beat them to be deemed worthy, and you get rewards from Bahamut for completing matches and stuff like that. Like that would be a cool implementation.
Yeah,
because that's like what I loved about the Soul series and everything, is the PvP is what basically everybody ends up trying to shoot for. So that would be cool.
Okay.
Showing off all your fashion and everything. Everybody, you got a team of people who are all dressed the same, just looking.
And you can imagine with magic spells and everything. Good Lord, that would be insane. There was a joke in the interview, and the joke in the interview was Nomura says, how about that? The title also contains the letters DFF and NT. Like, what I mean? And he goes, wow, is there a 3v3 battle? And he didn't answer it. He just kind of moved on and answered a different question. He answered a question with a question or something like that. And it's like, ooh. But that would be cool.
Because Magic was OP in the PvE aspect of the game. Especially if you're running a 3-man and you just had one person in the back just constantly casting. But that you become a target at that point if you're doing PvP. You're gonna have people. You're not gonna be able to just sit there, because if you're sitting there trying to cast and everything, you're gonna have somebody run up on you. So it it's going to be cool seeing, like, if there is going to be PvP, seeing what type of comps people come up with, and I think that would be cool, especially since the DFF thing that he mentioned. So Dissidia, Final Fantasy, you just
Yeah, and NT
you
and
know.
stuff like. Like, why would you even bring that up? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of like he brings up the joke himself. Like, if you read forward, then again, once again, this is translated by Google. Like, who knows if that was lost in translation or whatever. But yeah. So interesting.
We can only do so much with what we have.
Right. So that is kind of interesting to maybe speculate that we get a PvP mode. Could definitely be something that could really intrigue players to come back and play, even though I do think facing off against Bahamut and that whole storyline that's going to happen there, building up to the different future DLC, I think that's definitely enough. Now, speaking of in between those two DLC, is actually one called The Wanderer of the Rift, and basically, I'm just rightfully assuming that this is going to be Gilgamesh, that you're going to face off against Gilgamesh, just because in Final Fantasy Record Keeper, the mobile game, there is literally a mission of the same name, and it's against Gilgamesh. So I put the 2 and 2 together. That's where I'm thinking, and I think at the end of our whatever reveal trailer we get at whatever event that's going to be, and hopefully a big Final Fantasy event. I would love that. But whatever, at the end of the trailer for the first DLC of Stranger of Paradise, I bet it ends with Gilgamesh like doing something and saying some kind of line, and then it says Wanderer of the Rift, Fall 2022. So you'll get the idea that like first DLC, summer, second DLC, fall, and then we'll get the Wanderer of the Rift sometime in the winter. So there you go. That's what I think we can expect from Stranger of Paradise, the DLC. So that's exciting, man. That's something to celebrate for the 35th anniversary, right, Vinny?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Vinny.
And
I'm redlining when I talk, so maybe I need to turn my microphone down. Is that annoying to everybody in chat? Let me know. Is my mic too loud? Let me know.
But I think I don't remember where I read this or what, but I think I looked up online, like, why is Gilgamesh, like, something about Gilgamesh being in so many mainline Final Fantasies, and he keeps the same, like, look and persona, and he also, I think in some games, has memories of events that happened in previous Final Fantasies.
America Chavez.
Yeah.
He goes through dimensions.
Right. So I think that would coincide with like the theme of the game. We went to basically different Final Fantasy worlds, and Gilgamesh could be somebody who's just he's just traveling, because he's a weapons collector. He's just collecting weapons. So
he's just collecting weapons.
Yeah.
He's just collecting weapons. That would be kind of cool, man. Like, the Wanderer of the Rift is the rift in between the worlds, Vinny. So Gilgamesh could be the anchor. He's like he'll be the Nick Fury of whatever they're trying to build up to or something.
He's also the one who he's actually the singer in Other Worlds for Final Fantasy X.
Yes, yeah. That would be actually pretty epic. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, so like the next Final Fantasy Origins game is like, builds up this new character, and then like Gilgamesh comes to them and says, "I'd like to talk to you about the Rift Initiative or the Dissidia Initiative or something." It like builds this ultimate crew. So that's
the Adventures of Final Fantasy.
Yeah. All right, so there you go. That's all of our speculation and predictions for Stranger of Paradise. We're gonna move on because we have new information on Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Vinny.
There we go.
Here we go. Here we go. All right, so we now know that September 2022 is going to be the release window for Ever Crisis. This was reported by Kazuma Hashimoto from Silicon Era. So They report that Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis will release sometime in late September 2022. This comes from a Cyber Agent financial report, which says the game will release within the fiscal year. However, no further information is available about the release date. As it stands, only a projected window of release has been confirmed by GameBiz. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis will condense the original title along with other games within Final Fantasy VII's extended universe for mobile devices. Players will have the opportunity to not only play Final Fantasy VII on their phones with a new visual style, but also titles like Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. It will also include the first ever official English localization of Before Crisis Final Fantasy VII. It is intended to be a compilation of these games, according to Final Fantasy VII Remake director Tetsuya Nomura. Ever Crisis will tie together the events, end quote, of each game within Final Fantasy VII universe. Additionally, Ever Crisis will feature, quote, free-to-play, quote, story chapters. That said, the game will feature gacha elements. This includes the distribution of weapons. Each weapon will have its own unique gimmicks. There are also potential plans to distribute costumes through the same system. So more on that, if you want to know more on the whole gacha system and everything, Famitsu raised the question, and this is coming from Josh Talentino of Silicon Era. They're on it, man. Silicon Era is on it. They say on the question of how it will be monetized. The initial announcement made it clear that this was a single-player title driven by its story, but it was unclear on how Square Enix would make money. So Nomura himself answered that the story chapters themselves would be free to access, as would the core gameplay. However, the game will feature gacha elements specifically for acquiring weapons and possibly costumes. The special weapons will come with interesting gimmicks that were not present in the original games. There will also be new and original costumes. I feel like I'm just kind of talking in circles now. Let's go with even players only interested in the story. Chapters of Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis will be considerable in size. The original Final Fantasy VII is expected to take up 10 chapters, with players escaping Midgar by the 3rd chapter. The game won't be a lockstep recreation of Final Fantasy VII and its spin-offs, though. As evidenced by the first screenshots, blah, blah, we know this. We saw Aerith in there. This information is not super new, so let me skip ahead a little bit. Nomura clarified that one of the reasons Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis creation is to establish common ground among the titles of the compilation in Final Fantasy VII. Those games vary widely in terms of technology, style, and mechanics, so this will be a new way for fans to experience in a unique and in a unified way. Let's see. Don't expect them to be replacements for the originals. And then, of course, expect it in 2022. So, guys, with all of that being said, let us take the speculation now and talk about what we think we're going to see. All right, we talked a little bit about Ever Crisis last week, so we don't really need to go into detail again. Once again, please go back and watch the previous episode for a ton of Final Fantasy predictions. But with this new information, Benny, where is your mindset now? With the new information of, hey, September 2022, we have that release window. We didn't have that last time.
Right. So from our predictions last time, it looks like everything is kind of moving forward, maybe, if not at the same pace, at maybe just like a few months off of the pace that we had set last episode. And with so from what I read in the article, I see it talk a lot about Final Fantasy Original, Final Fantasy Before Crisis, Crisis Core, and I think Before Crisis was on there too, right?
Yes.
I didn't see anything mentioned about Remake, Advent Children, or Dirge of Cerberus.
Well, so we do know from the trailer, though, that those were included. They just weren't talked about in the interview. But I kind of maybe I see where you're going with this. Go ahead.
So if they're not um, if they're not following the remake formula,
Mhm.
then this can come out as often as it wants monthly and not have to worry about keeping up with remake. Because if this is going to be just before Crisis, before Crisis, Crisis Core, and then OG, then it's gonna follow its own, timeline where it doesn't have to coincide. Like it doesn't have to worry about catching up with Remake Part Two, so that you know Ever Crisis doesn't spoil anything or what's the word I'm looking for? Contradict anything that happens in the rest of the compilation.
Yeah.
So
It's a
it
unified
looked like
approach, is what it seems like.
right, and
Mm.
from the images they gave us, it looks like they're gonna start with um, original. It looks like
Yeah.
bombing mission is gonna be the first.
Honestly, I would like to take it even further than that, Vinny. I think that the very first at launch, I would like to
Mhm.
predict that at launch you get to play the entirety of Midgar.
That's
I'm gonna
that's gonna be
go. You
great.
get 3 chapters right at launch.
I I I wish they would talk about how big like gigabyte wise, how big this
Oh
game is
yeah.
gonna be. Because it's a mobile game, and I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of people want it to release on PC. I would like for it to release on PC too.
Mm.
Um, but do I need a separate device to house, because I
I
think I have
wonder.
like a
Yeah, I'm very curious because we're not talking Dissidia Opera Omnia, and like
right.
their little additional chapters, which don't really include much in the terms of like what you're downloading. But this, we're talking like full scale. I mean, look at this. Like this is what the battles look like.
Mhm.
I mean that's a lot of data. That's a lot of something to download right there. That's a lot of detail and graphics. Um, so I don't know, man. I'm not sure exactly. I can't say that I know how all that mobile games work with the whole chapter formula, but I am very curious, just like you, Vinny. Like this is going to be a big game for sure. Especially, I
Mhm.
mean, like we're talking the whole compilation looking like this in battle. And then of course it doesn't look too shabby at all in its in its regular form, so like in its
Right.
exploration form. So
Because like Opera Omnia and Brave Exvius, like well, their updates are like megabyte updates. I feel like this is gonna be, download on Wi-Fi because it's gonna be 2 GB updates every month.
yeah,
And I some people have like the 400 and something gigabyte phones and everything, but not everybody does.
yeah.
And I'm assuming not everybody who wants to play this is going to have devices. Like, do you need like an there's also something I ran into the other day. Like, so certain phones,
Hmm.
I wanted to download a game on my phone. I think I was talking to you about this. I think it was Pokemon.
Hmm.
I wanted to download it on my phone, and it
Yeah.
said it's not available for the phone. It's only available for tablets because tablets have the screen space and everything
Huh.
designed for it. So I'm wondering if like certain phones aren't going to be compatible because of everything going on in the screen. Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
technical questions that I have. So like the size of the game, or at least a projected size, because I
Hmm.
think at least if they give us a projected size we can make more speculations on the technical aspect, but we can also, I mean, not me, I'm not smart enough to do this, but there are people smart enough out there to say like, all right, this game when it's in its entirety is going to be 150 gigabytes. Then we can kind of, somebody out there who's smart, it can probably pick it apart and say like, okay, if it's 150 gigabytes, then we can speculate that we're gonna get Dirge Cerberus in there as well, and this, that, and the other, and
Hmm.
because the size of the game is gonna tell you how much we're getting with it.
Well, I do want to kind of just to keep up with the conversation right now to make sure
Hmm.
we're staying up relevant or whatever. Here is the official website for Japan. It says iPhone and Android. So that hopefully maybe
Okay.
can like answer some questions and stuff for anybody watching and you yourself too. Like it says
Mhm.
iPhone and Android, so I feel
Well,
like
so
compatibility is going to be there.
okay, I see where it says. I see iOS and Android, but I see where you're seeing iPhone and Android
Yeah,
now
right
too.
down
Okay,
here.
so it says iPhone specifically, so I guess
Yep.
that's not a worry.
Hmm.
But I've never ran into that like you can't play this on your phone, you can only play this on your tablet type of app. So ever since I saw that, I was just like, you know, thinking massive games are are they are like is this going to be able to be played on a phone?
Yeah.
'Cause I have the 13 Pro Max, which had the biggest screen, and they, the Pokemon trading card game was not available for the phone, only for tablets.
That's so
So
crazy. Yeah, it's actually available on the Galaxy. I'm so surprised that it wasn't available on your iPhone. It's
yeah.
wild. But yeah, so I mean, like compatibility as that far as that goes, I don't know. Maybe I feel like it's going to have to be a very up to date phone because the graphics in this thing is just
hmm
they look really good. So,
and that's another thing. Like, how intensive is it going to be? Because I'm probably going to want to play it for a while, and
yeah, for
how
sure.
am I only going to be able to play it in the winter so I can use double my phone as like a hand warmer when I'm playing it? Because is it gonna increase the temperature of my phone by like
Yeah, yeah, that thing
exponentially?
is going to heat it up, man. I like with no way is saying right now. No way
Mhm.
is saying that I hope it has controller support. And yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a no brainer. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
feel like it should. I feel like it should, but I can't say. Who knows? When you
Well,
look at the battling right now, it does look like it's very touch friendly as it should be for a phone. I mean, looks like your abilities are right there. Accessible. It looks like you can even tap on Barrett to use his ability and Aerith there. This is another thing that I don't think. I mean, this is old news as this was revealed last year. But like, you look at it and you're just like, this is definitely not, a recreation of Final Fantasy VII. So like, the
mhm.
battles are completely different. So this is definitely going to be different. I'm pretty excited about it. I love the visual style changing to remake during battles. That's insane. But it definitely, when you look at this screenshot, there's so much to take in, to dissect, and you can really kind of get the idea of like, okay, it looks like they're still using ATB bars there with the yellow bars. It looks like you got abilities. It looks like you might not be controlling your teammates directly, unless if you tap on their character icon or something like that. Who knows? Who knows how that's going to work? I feel like we're going to find out very, very soon. I feel like whenever this whole event happens, whether it's a Final Fantasy 35th Anniversary event, which I hope it is, call it Final Fantasy 35th Uncovered or whatever, and do a big style event. Get freaking Greg Miller and Tim Geddes back from Kind of Funny. Like they did the Final Fantasy 15 Uncovered event. Get them back. Make it a big event. Make it a big spectacle. This is what they want to show off this year. Obviously, Square Enix has gotten rid of a lot recently. They got rid of Crystal Dynamics and a lot of other IP. Big things going on with that we can't really. I'm not that knowledgeable of right now, but they're focusing on the wrong things. But they did say their major focus is going to be on Final Fantasy, and it wouldn't make sense to have their own Square Enix. They've been calling it Square Enix Presents, but like, what do you have to show? Final Fantasy. Like, we're talking about it right now. So if they do a big event, with all of that aside, I think we're going to see Ever Crisis very, very shortly. I think everybody should be really excited about seeing Ever Crisis news. It's coming, and I think it's coming this Summer Game Fest time zone. So get excited, be hype about that. So let's move on. Vinny, let's talk about some stuff that maybe people forgot. Listen,
All right.
maybe people forgot this. Chat's probably like, I didn't forget that. But here it comes. Final Fantasy IX anime. Ooh! I didn't say remake like everybody thought I was going to say. I said anime. It's coming, or whatever this TV show is, by Cyber Group Studios. Okay? So I think we are going to see that this year, right? Okay, I forgot. I kind of followed that in real time. That's great. Subtext, I don't forget anything, all caps. Okay, I forgot that. That's great.
Don't feel bad because I forgot it too until Daniel mentioned it today.
Here we go. This is coming from Bell of the Lost Souls, or belloflostsouls.com, or .net. Sorry. I want to make sure I got that. belloflostsouls.net by Megan Colleran. And this was last year, right? This is June 22nd of last year. And here's the key thing that I wanted to point out about this is working with Paris-based animation studio Cyber Group Studios, Square Enix Production is already well underway on an animated adaptation of Final Fantasy IX. Well underway. Okay, now back to the article. In addition to producing the show itself, Cyber Group Studios will also be handling the show's worldwide distribution, licensing, and merchandising. That's right, Final Fantasy IX merch again as soon as 2022. Okay, that's this year. That's this year, Vinny. And then that information that we kind of already know, like this is going to be targeted to younger audience. It is Cyber Group Studios, after all, who is responsible for The Last Kids on Earth and that whole adaptation and everything. Like this is definitely a children's, focused animation group. So it is going to be kind of towards that. We kind of already knew all this stuff if you've been keeping up to date with it. But yeah, so I think it's time to get excited about Final Fantasy IX anime being revealed shortly, Vinny. And, all this talk of Final Fantasy IX remake, all this talk about that, of course, that is super exciting as well. And it seems like, man, if you're gonna go out and outsource this animation studio to do a Final Fantasy IX, now you're building up like an audience again. Like the excitement for Final Fantasy IX has kind of come back in a way, and they're kind of seeming like they're going all in on it with this animation. So to accompany that animation, a remake would be pretty sweet.
Great advertising.
Exactly.
If the anime is successful,
hand in hand.
It's right. It's just like it's basically the opposite of what Pokemon does. The games are the advertisement, so that you go out and buy the merchandise, because that's it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there you go. I mean, anybody in chat, are you guys excited? Looks like, oh, nice. It's like good to see you, dude. Jamie is here, author of we got the Melodies of Life, and also Kingdom Hearts' new book, Simple and Clean, Unlocking Kingdom Hearts. Definitely check out those books. Good to see you here, Jamie. So awesome to I know you're excited about this. Obviously, you're excited about Final Fantasy IX. You wrote a whole book on it. So definitely check out those books. In fact, let me just bring it out for you guys so you can see what it looks like. Boom, there it is. Great book. I haven't been able to finish it though, Vinny. But it does a great job of breaking down the story and thematic elements, characters. It's so cool to get like this deep dive into Final Fantasy IX. So check out that.
So now I don't have a copy of that book. Where is that purchasable? Do you know?
Well, Vinny, I'm glad you asked. You can find that on Amazon.com. Amazon.com has it. It's called Melody of Life, Final Fantasy IX Retrospective. So awesome. I'm so happy you're here, Jamie. Thanks so much for stopping by. Really cool. Please, everyone, check out that book. And if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, he also has the same deal, man. Breaking down the thematic elements, the story, characters, unlocking Kingdom Hearts. And that one's called Simple and Clean. So, Vinny, the anime, we're going to get that accompanied by the remake. Now, the reason we bring up the remake of Final Fantasy IX is that, and let me take it over to this sweet little note right here. I respect Jason Schreier. I like Jason Schreier. He's a big Final Fantasy fan, and Jason Schreier posted this one on Twitter February 9th. With Chrono Cross Remaster being real, that means the NVIDIA link, Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster and Final Fantasy IX are also on the way. Big old eyeballs looking at it. And I agree. Look at this cool little visual here provided by PC Gamer. Here you go, Vinny. I mean, you got a Chrono Cross remaster, check mark. That was in the leak. Final Fantasy 7 Remake, obviously, check mark. Final Fantasy 9 Remake, not checked yet. Tactics Remaster, not checked yet. But Kingdom Hearts 4, everybody saw the leak, and that's where they discounted the leak right there. They said Kingdom Hearts 4. What? This leak is fake. Nope, there it is. It's been checked last month, or earlier this month. The new strategy game, that was revealed to be the Dio Field Chronicle, which actually looked really fun, really cool. Tactics Ogre, not checked. Tomb Raider 25th Anniversary, that's a sad face right there because Square Enix got rid of that IP, unfortunately. And the unannounced card game turned out to be Voice of Cards. So, dude, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 check marks out of 6, 7, 8, 9. 5 out of 9 ain't bad. 5 out of 9, Vinny.
Mm-hmm.
And here's Final Fantasy 9 and Tactics Remaster sitting right there waiting to be revealed. So, I mean, who knows when that's coming out, though, right? Like, just because it's on the NVIDIA link doesn't mean it's going to be this year. I mean, that's just, look, Kingdom Hearts 4, it got revealed, but I think that's just because it was the 20th anniversary of the franchise, and they wanted to do something special for it. But, like, that game in itself is not even started full development. You know what I mean? Like, we're not even in the Unreal Engine 5 yet when they said that it was going to be moved. So that game's a long ways off. Kingdom Hearts 4. So that doesn't mean they have to talk about these games soon. But that could potentially, most likely, considering the situation here, that they are, in fact, real and in development. But I mean, it's possible, I guess. It's strongly possible at this point. So, Vinny, we could see that. Mm-hmm. We could see Final Fantasy 9. We could see a Final Fantasy Tactics. I think we don't see that this year. I don't think we see it this year. I think we see the anime, or whatever the cartoon. I think we see that this year. I don't think we see Final Fantasy 9 Remake. I think if the cartoon comes out, you get a season or two in, or maybe even the cartoon finishes the seasons before Final Fantasy 9, depending on what Final Fantasy 9 Remake is. Whether or not it's like a full Final Fantasy 7 remake style, or whether it's a top-down recreation, modernized 2D HD, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. That depends on what direction they take in the game, obviously. I don't think we see it this year. I kind of want to like level out expectations here. What do you think, Vinny?
Yeah, I don't think we see it this year. You're talking about the full release?
Oh, like an announcement.
Oh, an announcement.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, yeah. Yeah, I don't think we see it this year either. I think, if anything, they'll probably see how well the anime is perceived, and then they'll go on from there. I think they'll do probably like a focus group. They'll see how well the anime is received, and that will determine whether or not there is a strong enough fan base for a remake. Because a lot of people love Final Fantasy 9. I think the fan base is there, but it's always good to be reassured that your money is going to be put into something that, because you could have a strong fan base for something, and they could be really loud and just kind of make it seem like there's a much larger fan base than there is.
Yeah.
I think they know that Final Fantasy 9 is probably one of the most popular ones, along with 10, 7, 6, and all that. But I think they want to see how, like, as a whole, if the anime is perceived well, then they'll probably push along with an announcement for a remake.
Yeah.
And that's if they decide to remake 9 before they remake 8.
no love for 8, man. I would love to have a Final Fantasy 8 remake in the style of Final Fantasy 7. Whereas Final Fantasy 9, I'd love to have a remake in the style of like just modernizing the original look and make it atmospheric and like just great graphics, but it's still that top down. You still get into random battles, but the random battles look freaking amazing. I would love it to go that route for Final Fantasy IX. I don't know. It's just the direction of the game. I think it makes me feel. Obviously, Final Fantasy IX, the big thing was returning into its roots type thing. So I think that would be a great visual style for 9, and then 8 would benefit from a Final Fantasy 7 remake style overhaul. That's just me. Yeah. So we'll go, and then when it comes to Final Fantasy Tactics, I think it's too soon. Like, you just released a great game to Triangle Strategy, and then you have Tactics Ogre remasters on this list as well, but that hasn't been announced. You have the Dio Field Chronicle being announced. A lot of strategy games are like out there for Square Enix right now, and it just feels like. And then of course Brave Exvius, War of the Visions, or I think it's what it's called. Oh crap, something about visions. Brave Exvius, it has its own tactics game. So I mean, I don't know if you would want to throw out, hey, Tactics Remasters coming as well. Maybe you do. Maybe it's maybe it's just a port. Maybe it's just a straight up port. So it's not that big of a deal. It's like, here's the War of the Lions, but on the Switch, in HD or something, like. So it doesn't have to be crazy. I would love it to be a compilation, man. Dude, what if it was a remaster of not only the first game, but a remaster of War of the Lions, a remaster of Tactics Advance 1 and 2. I would love that, dude, because I love Tactics Advance. I love Tactics Advance.
I forget which Tactics it was, because I played them both, but I played them so long ago on the Game Boy.
Yeah.
I have one of them on my phone, and I'm starting to see that it's not this one. Which is the one with the judges, where like?
Oh, is that Tactics Advance, right?
Is that Tactics Advance?
I
the
think
one
so.
Where you're in like a boss
Rift
fight.
of Grimoire?
I think that you're the main character. It's a 1v1. It's you versus a boss, and there's no judge, and the guy can do whatever he wants to you. There's no rules, and you have to survive long enough for a judge to get to the battle so that there are rules and everything. I remember I got stuck on that for a long time because the guy was cheating. He was basically moving as much as he wanted, and like, so I remember that. Subtext is saying that he thinks that that's a Tactics Advance.
Yeah, it looks like what I just typed in a brief quick thing, and it was like the law system by Tactics Advanced, the judge Tactics Advanced, and stuff like that. So
yeah, okay,
yeah. So
like certain battles you couldn't use items and stuff, and because that was the law for that battle, and like judges would proceed over the battles and
good
everything.
Hanging out, Jamie. Thanks so much for stopping by, and everybody, please go check out that book, man. It's so good. It's so good.
Please check out that link.
Yeah, we're gonna have to link that for sure.
Well, Jamie linked it in chat.
Oh, okay, good, awesome. All right, yeah. So I mean, like that Tactics Advance and Tactics Advance 2, I really love those games. Just as much as I love the first one. Maybe not just as much, I don't know. But it's been a while since I've played them. I'd love it if it was just a straight up, HD remaster of those games. That'd be cool. Wouldn't be as exciting, but as like a full-on, like, here's the HD 2D version of it, which I feel like that would be the route they go, but it would maybe be too similar to Triangle Strategy. Lots to like speculate on the whole thing there. My point is I think Square Enix has enough tactics games right now this year that I don't think they're going to announce another one. That's just my opinion.
It'd be cool if they did like a full overhaul, like a full 3D tactics game where it's, kind of like like an RTS, but like I'm horrible at explaining things, but you're on the battlefield, you can move around the battlefield, and like each square is like an open area type thing, and you can run to other squares, and then like it. What
was that game? Like Valkyrie or whatever?
Yeah,
like
kind of like Valkyrie.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, like Subtext says, he just wants it freed from mobile and put on console and PC. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, long live the PlayStation Vita. You know what I mean? The PlayStation Portable. But I think it would be great on the Switch as well. So there's a lot of love for tactics, and I just don't think we're going to see those two things this year. I don't think we'll see Final Fantasy IX Remake or Tactics this year, even though it would be a great way to celebrate. And if we do, maybe just a little teaser that they're coming. You know what I mean? Because everybody kind of feels like at this point they know. That would be the only reason why they would announce it. At this point, everybody kind of already knows because of the NVIDIA link being so on point with everything. It just seems like maybe Square Enix would be like, all right, let's just say that let's just confirm it at this point. Let's just confirm it. But who knows? Who knows how they're going to do that? Now, in addition to all of that, of course, Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 and Final Fantasy 16. Once again, we did go into extreme details. Like, we predicted everything down to the release date of Final Fantasy 16. We predicted all of that stuff in the previous episode on Final Podcast. You'll notice the thumbnail of Tifa and Aerith just kind of looking out the window, and it says like Final Fantasy VII Remake 2024. So check out that video if you want a full breakdown of our predictions there. But of course, the reason why I'm bringing it up, of course, I think we're going to see it this year. Whatever event that they're planning, whatever, if it's going to be Summer Game Fest, its own standalone event, or whatever, we see Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 this year. We see Final Fantasy 16 this year. In fact, we play Final Fantasy 16 this year. So those are my big drops there. I think we're going to see it. What do you guys think in chat about Final Fantasy VII Remake 2, Final Fantasy 16? I'll let you guys kind of take that because we went into detail last week. The Warrior of Hype and the Faraga Fighter, baby. Black Sheep is there. I love it. Using the emoji or the whatever they're called. You know what I mean? Whatever they're called, Vinny. They're in the chat and they're doing it. They're doing the thing. I need to have chat up on screen during these podcasts. I got to get that. Subtext agrees on all fronts. Awesome. So there you go, guys. Now I think it's time that we jump into some Mad Libs, Vinny.